Hello. Oh. Hi, Red. And Picuni, thank you for donating more channel points. Hi. How's it going? How close are we to that? I actually don't know. We are 45% there. Ooh, almost halfway. Nice. How's it going now? It is Thirsty Thursday. It is Timeless Thursday, Retro Thursday, Throwback Thursday, Throw It Back Thursday, I guess. I don't know. Whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's Thursday. Excuse me. And it's gonna be retro today. And we're gonna play games probably people don't even remember existing. Yeah, some people probably didn't even know that these games existed. So anyway, I actually slept pretty good last night. Probably not like what I needed, but pretty good, better than usual. I feel a little bit warm, like lightheaded today, so hopefully that doesn't affect anything, make me have to stop early or something, but we will manage. We will see what happens today. Bah. I did laundry today, I did some shopping, I did just a lot of housework today because I don't know, I felt energized, I guess, so I feel good. Hopefully you guys are having a good day as well and are ready for, honestly, it's gonna be cozy today, but not like the usual cozy where like you can just fall asleep to the gameplay, because like it ain't gonna be that. We're playing extreme sports, so like I don't know, it's been a long time since I played this game, probably like 20 years, if not more. So like I don't know if I'm gonna be good at it. It might suck ass. I might not have fun. I might just quit after like 15 minutes. I don't fucking know. I'm just gonna play and we'll see what happens. Anyway, yeah, also I put emotes that I thought I had uploaded up, so there are a couple new emotes. I shuffled some things around just because I don't know, I felt like it was worth it. So like theoretically the static emote slots are filled now. I'll still let you guys vote on stuff in case there's like something you guys really want, because I'm not like too married to the idea of like certain emotes versus others. I'm just not, like, I'm okay with changing things around. Hell, I'm okay with changing like the emotes people use the least every month. I don't know, if I get a big enough like a emo pool, I guess. But we still have 2 animated ones to get through, so I don't quite know what I'm gonna do yet, and I'm like letting that up to you guys because we 100% met it all because of y'all. What else? Not much else to say, I don't think, today before we get started. I think it's just time to play. Let's be totally real. I think it's just time to play games. I gotta stop this amazing fucking Sonic. I fucking love Sonic music, man. All Sonic music is fucking great, and if you don't believe it, I don't know, bite me. We go over here. Smooch. Hi, Petunia. How you doing? It's still a black screen, don't worry. As always, I just pause it just to make sure that it's good. Love his hair and outfit combo. It's honestly one of my favorites. I do know that I kind of created this outfit with the ponytails in mind, but short hair kind of just goes with everything, you know? Maddie the best. Hi. Thanks for Morse code. Where are those band hammers? Are you kidding me with band hammers? I don't know. Lost meme? I don't know. I don't know. Time to Google. Hang on. Time to Google. Time to Google. No idea. Old webcomic, unfortunately, I wasn't really into webcomics. Like, that's like the one thing I was never into growing up. Like, period. Just comics, webcomics, whatever it is. Anyway, start the game. Y'all are. I have not seen this opening video in forever. I just wanted to make sure that it worked. So we're gonna watch this shit together. Like this is like peak 90s and early 2000s. Look at this shit. Using real life people for footage, it's kind of crazy. Also, fun fact, this is a game in a 3-part series, the first of which was actually sponsored by ESPN. This game was not, so like you don't see any ESPN titling on it, but the first one was absolutely sponsored by ESPN. 1996. I was technically not old enough to remember this time. And look at this motherfucking, this is a 90s screen if you've ever seen one. If you ever see like a 90s like game show, a 90s stinger for like TV commercials, this is just it. Anyway, I'm gonna choose my character because I know there's a bunch of them and they'll have different stats somehow. So I have no idea if these are real people or not. I'm just gonna pick someone I think looks cool. There's Nick. He's bad at snowboarding. There's Bones O'Neill. Bruno. He's kind of mid, like period. Lance Hoppa. Tracy Styles. I think I remember always playing as Tracy, I'm not gonna lie. Jorge. Alan Snow. And Teddy Blades, which somehow his name is Teddy Blades, but he sucks at inline skating if you see his stats. Megan. Angel. There's a lot of characters in this game. Holy shit. I will go with... Let's go with Bruno. Also, there's no confirmation. You just pick your character and go back to the menu. We will go a season. Let's go... What's the... Okay, let's go normal veteran. Let me know how the audio is. This game, I don't trust the audio levels because again, this is fucking 1996 game. I think this is probably one of the oldest games I've played on stream. I think the actual oldest is probably what, Link to the Past probably is not the oldest game I've ever played on stream, at least. Right? I'm trying to think. What else did I play that's old? Yeah, I think this and Link to the Past are the two oldest games that I played. Also, I didn't press X there. Oh, it has a demo? What the fuck? Honestly, I don't remember this. No, get away. Stop. Spoilers. Spoilers. Actual spoilers. It's frozen. It's not actually frozen. What the fuck is going on? I wanted a season. I wanted it on veteran. I want to make sure I'm... Who the fuck did I pick? Bruno? Bruno, we're good. We're Bruno. I can create my own character somehow. It's kind of crazy. Okay. Let's just play. Initials. Whatever. I was trying to pick a name and I forgot it. You don't press X. You just fucking scroll. We're in Vegas. Las Vegas, baby. Also, this game's funny. You can beat the shit out of people in this game. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember this game just because I used to like punch the shit out of people. Oh god. Oh, we just ran over somebody. These are not closed courses, by the way. You see traffic. But yeah, it's a racing game. But it's not an arcade game, if that makes sense. 250. Somehow, also, I remember how to do tricks in this game. It's not even that hard to do. How am I in 6th place? I'm beating the shit out of these people. Ah! I'm dead. I'm in 10th place. I think 10th place is actually last place. Get away. Let's rumble. Kick his ass. I remember this game used to get me like really wanting to do like extreme sports. Ow. I forgot how to jump. And then I tried, and I got in a really bad accident. Not accident, but a really bad, basically an accident. As a kid on a bike, and I've never ridden a bike since, and that's been probably also about 20 years. Oh shit. We're going uphill, so I need speed. Get away. But yeah, I tried inline skating as a kid. I tried biking. I tried skateboarding. I could not balance on a skateboard, I'm not gonna lie. So like when hoverboards became a thing, I'm like, I can't do this. I can't even stand on a fucking skateboard. Imagine something that, based on your body weight, moves. Nah, that's not possible. Oh god, I'm stuck. I think that cost me the race. I'm coming. I'm coming. Go. I think the race is almost over. Usually like 3-minute races from what I remember. Oh god. Go. Oh, don't jump. 500. Whee. Yeah, we're done, I think. See ya. Go. Kill Nick. I think that's Nick. Oh. This motherfucking traffic killed me. I tried reading a sign up there and it was so pixelated, but it said Stardust. Go. Oh god. No, I'm gonna be in last place. 250. Let's rumble. 500. Also, I don't know what the score is for. Like, it doesn't do anything. Like, I'm pretty sure. Let's rumble. Kill him. 250. Kill him. He died. See ya. My aura killed him. Oh god, I'm stuck. No. Okay, 6th place. Oh yeah. I remember these games. They're so silly. God, this was 96 too. I just thought about it. I'm like, Jesus, man. This was like the beginning of the death of pixel art. By the death, I just mean everybody transferring to 3D. I don't care. There's high scores. I don't know. I beat them, I guess. Next. Ow. We're in Japan, baby. Konnichiwa, motherfuckers. Set, go. Oh yeah. I'm a little menace in these games. I just like beating the shit out of people. Oh, this guy's aggressive. Ooh. That's some air. 250. Oh, I went through somehow. Go. Also, this game's like fake 3D. It's like Pepsi Man, I'm not gonna lie. Oh yeah, I don't even know what trick that was. It was like a Japan grab or something, probably. I don't fucking know. I don't know. That's like the one sport I know nothing about is snowboarding. Oh, you bitch. Oh, you want to rumble? Fuck you, die! Get some air. Why am I so slow? Now that was just a grab. I don't know what did you call that. Whee! There's a rock up there. Who the hell put a rock on these slopes? Oh god.
500.
Whee! Oh yeah. Go, 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 go. I think my guy's actually good at snowboarding because I feel like I'm going faster than just generally faster than these guys. Woo. Get some air. No way. There's a fox. What does the fox say? God, I remember that fucking song was everywhere. Go, 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 go. Come on, Bruno.
150.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah. Half pipe, technically, I guess. I don't fucking know what this is supposed to be. Bye-bye. Hi, Solaris. Welcome in. You're watching the game now. I'll give you a smooch in a second. I see that.
Get some air.
Whee! I lost speed, but it looked cool as hell, didn't it? Whee! But how's it going, Solaris? How's your Thursday going? How's your night? What you guys have for dinner, by the way, today? If you've had dinner yet.
150.
Or what's your plan if you haven't had dinner yet? First place, baby! For how old this game is, it looks pretty sick. Listen, it's called 2Xtreme for a reason. Like, literally, look at the logo up there. It is 1996 if you weren't here at the start when the start screen, like the loading screen happened. Oh yeah, I owe you a smooch. I owe you a smooch too, Pecunia. Save it? Sure. But yeah, no, this game's pretty cool. I have no name because I forgot to put a name down. Also, as I said, look at this fucking menu. Tell me this is not the most 90s coded menu ever. Where are we next? We're in Africa. Ooh, we're biking. Like, this is a game that I feel like you would expect to have in, like, your local pizza place. Not even, like, an arcade, like your pizza place.
Set, go!
Go, 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 go. I forgot you kick people in the bike. I totally, that was worth the knockdown, honestly. There's wild ass elephants in here. Die. Oh shit, I fucked up. Don't touch that. Oh my god. That was a perfect jump. Go, 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 go. I forgot the bike has the hardest like super trick, I guess you can call it. There's basically 2 tricks in this game, or 3 tricks. One is with 2 specific buttons pressed, one is with 3, one is with all 4 in a specific order. And the bike has the hardest quad button trick ever. Ow. Also, if you're wondering how I'm not getting knocked down, if you look at the bottom, that little green swirl thingy, that's my health bar. Or I guess my endurance gauge, I guess you should call it. And anytime I'm actually biking, that goes down. Anytime I get hit, that also goes down. Oh god. Ah! We're good. Oh, this guy wants to fight. 150.
See ya.
Whee. Oh my god. Go, 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 go.
See ya.
Also, you guys want to know something about how old this game is? This game is so old, it actually doesn't support DualShock. This is a D-pad only video game. This is how old of a PlayStation game this is. This game existed before the concept of the analog DualShock. I love old games, honestly. Like, you can do silly shit when you just like do something the game's not expecting. Big rock. Oh, you bitch! Motherfucker.
See ya. See ya.
Go, 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 go. Eh. The music's pretty good too, by the way. Like, it's not bad. It's kind of repetitive, but it's not bad music at all. Y'all suck. He ran into the fucking rock that was right there. Lag. Go, 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 go. Yes. Ooh. No. Trying to think, what have we not done? Skateboarding. So if you're wondering, this campaign is, I think it's 4, maybe 5 races. They're usually all 4 types. No! Oh, I got second. I snuck second out. Yeah. And now we just sit with this very, very quiet screen until the next thing loads. Save the record. Save it. My first place. Oh, it's time based on. Oh, that must mean they have both times and scores then, I guess. Anyway. Oh, Africa again. Back to back. That's interesting. Oh, this song goes hard though.
Set, go. Get some air.
That's a giant fucking rock. Go, 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 go. Oh, he tried to kick me on the way.
150.
Heads up. By the way, that purple thing makes these those 2Xtreme vans move.
250.
Also, I wish this game had multiplayer. Wait, no, it does. I forgot. It actually does have multiplayer. But I still think a game like this would actually, I feel like, be pretty good in modern day. Like, you could do this shit online. You could do that online. It'd be like modern day Mario Kart, just without the silly shit that comes with Mario Kart. You suck. There was only one of those barrels around. Come on, buddy. Oh god.
500.
Go, go, go. I missed the score. That's fine. Backflip.
See ya. See ya.
Later, bitches. Or I guess if I was in Kingdom Hearts, later, taters.
150.
I almost fucked up by doing a trick there. Zebra. I wasn't looking. No. Bad idea, but it worked. Need to catch up his motherfucker. Go, 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 go. He tried to do the move and I think he landed it because it's bullshit. This video games always favor computers and older games like this. He went through the thing. What the fuck? Fuck you. We're the same person. Fuck you. You little shit. He passed me up. Oh, whoa. He one-shot me. How the... I'm right in the middle. I'm stuck. Go, 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 go. $250. Get away. Bye-bye. Oh, he didn't fall. Go, 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 go. Ad time. Ad time. Commercial break, baby. Fuck you.
150.
150. You too hot in the second place again. Aw, yeah. You know what game this makes me want to play as well? Thinking about it. Hi, Rage. Welcome in. You're in the middle of me in the 4th race of 2Xtreme. But what I was gonna say was, surprisingly, what this game makes me want to play. Dave Mirra's BMX for the PS1. If you don't know what Dave Mirra's BMX is, don't worry. It was my introduction to Sublime, the band. How you doing? How's your Thursday going? Hi Tano. I have a couple new static emotes for you guys if you guys want to take a look. I added some of them that I realized I never actually had uploaded. Hi. How do you guys like my 90s screensaver, by the way? Look at this. You're down with the sickness? Damn. The fuck? We're 3 Africas in a row? Okay, I think there's only 3, so I think next has to be a different race. But how are you as well, Tano?
Set, go!
I'm sorry, honestly, this music's pretty good. Kill him. Kill them. Yes! Ah!
Get some air!
But one thing I was saying is I wish a game like this existed in modern day. You brought this back? Which one? Can't see. Looking, yeah. It's there. Hopefully I don't get motherfucking reported for it, because you know people are stupid. It is just me looking down on you guys as you guys are in my lap. Why is my thing lagging? But yeah, I figured I had a couple emotes that I didn't have uploaded for some reason. Like the smug emote that I have on Discord for some reason I didn't actually have. Heads up! Get fucked, bitches. Ooh, how did he do a move in that little space? Oh, I'm so upset. 250. Oh, bad move. Hammer. Oh, I might need to reset my my chat on OBS because I don't actually see the hammer emote. Motherfuckers. It sucks. I'm going uphill. I can't get speed fast enough. Elephant. Ah! Wait, is my tits actually going? Okay, it is. Thank God. I don't. You don't either. It should be up.
Get fucked.
Also, this game is funny. You can beat the shit out of people. I love when games have like silly things like this. Like, hey, it's a real extreme sports racing game. You can fucking kick off the side of your bike and knock people out. Get away. Haha. See ya. Yeah, that's the power-ups you can get in this game. So you could get a health power-up, you could get a punch power-up, you get a jump power-up, then a speed power-up. Here's my speed power-up. Oh, first place. Nice. Hang on. Give me a second. I'm refreshing my chat to see if the hammer shows up. That's weird. Is it in my emote wheel? There's the bonk. It is there. Yeah, it's just okay. So just Twitch itself isn't showing it. Hammer's tier 3? No, did I change it? What the fuck did I do? I messed around with my emails. I already forgot what I did. Oh yeah, I put Loomis at a hammer. That's what it is. I changed the Lyra emote because I don't know. I want more people to have my Lyra emote because it's such a cute emote. Yeah, the hammer is tier 3. That's right. That was originally my Lyra emote, but I was like, nah, you know what? I want more people to have that cute emote because I love that emote. It's genuinely one of my favorite emotes that I've created. And not just because it has, you know, one of my best friends in it. I might make hammer tier 3 though. Or tier 1 and change them. We're in LA. Ooh, first time skateboarding. Of course, you know, skateboarding is LA, right? But yeah, feel free to keep suggesting emotes because I still might ask you guys for like 10 emotes that you guys want to see that I don't have, or even if it's just you bitch, even if it's just like a modernification of some of my emotes. Like one thing I plan to do whenever Guanch, the emote artist that made my 2.0 emotes, once they're open, I do plan to update the majority of my emotes to their style.
500.
Peanut? What do you mean? What do you mean, peanut? What do you mean? No, see ya.
250.
Wouldn't want to be ya. Oh god, that's kickflip. Bitch. Die. Peanut, which was first. What did I? Is it not? Am I too quiet compared to the game? Let's go. Did you not hear me well? That fucked up my trick. I had too much air. I hit the street light.
Get some air. 150.
No. Hey, that's a kickflip. That's an actual kickflip. Also, it's really funny how this is technically not done on a closed course.
150.
So you just get traffic, like actual traffic. Oh, that sucks. You just punched his ass? Maybe.
See ya. See ya.
I'll do it again
250.
whenever somebody catches up to me.
250.
250. Honestly, I love this announcer. I don't know who did the voice work for this game. I fucking love him. Oh, poor guy. Oh god. Homeless person. Oh god. He ran into the tree. Businessman jaywalking. What's wrong with you guys?
250.
No, backflip.
150. 500.
But yeah, like you just literally punch people. You give them a butt touch. It's either a butt touch or a dick slap, and they just go down sometimes. Oh god. Get away. Ooh, we're good. Backflip.
Get some air.
Get some air. Otherwise known as touch grass. Ah, nuts do be punched, but at what cost? I mean, I'm in second place right now because I punched somebody's nuts. Fuck you, get out of here.
150.
Fuck. That thing messed with me. When I hit the... Oh, what the fuck? He's skateboarding on the street. That's illegal. Not the street, sorry, the sidewalk. No, don't tell me this gave me second place. Ha ha, this guy sucks.
See ya.
What the fuck? Who are you? Where did you go? Ugh. Oh no, I'm getting third. He just knocked over those people. Shit. But I mean, again, but at what cost? I got third place. Fuck. I love this game. Like legitimately, I forget how my family came into possession of this game. We just did. Wait, how the fuck? Oh, course 1, not course. I was like, how am I number 1? No, that's just course 1. Next. I don't even know when this season ends, or if it's I'm assuming it ends when you do all 12 courses is my guess. There's a lot of silly games like this that I just know had to be at a garage sale. I don't think so. Legitimately, I don't think so.
Set, go.
Oh, it's nighttime now. The reason I say I don't think so, I just my parents were not very into video games, so like they wouldn't go to like a garage sale and just like buy things. Fuck. Like that's like the one thing my parents have never been into. Like even when we were kids, they weren't like trying to play video games to like, you know, bond with us. They just sit there watching.
Let's rumble. 250.
Heads up.
150.
Ah, that's a really shitty placement of these trucks. I just love the little boom sound effects because they're running into a hollow truck made of metal. Fuck. Uh-oh, that's not good. I gotta stay on the inside now. But yeah, like if you guys want to know a funny story about how I came to be in possession of some of my consoles, not all of them, as in just one. When I was a kid, my mom was a housekeeper for a couple years, and there were certain times where she would have to take me and my brother to the person's house she was taking care of, just because, you know, childcare was kind of not really a thing back then. It was expensive or just didn't exist. So we would just be at the house. The owner was kind and be like, hey, you know, your kids can have like a Pop-Tart while they're here. Fuck it, you know? So we would just, like, that was the only time we ever had Pop-Tarts as well, growing up, was just when we were at that person's house. And then at one point, when my mom was, you know, taking out the trash and stuff, we saw a I don't know what you call it. I don't know if you call it a PlayStation 1 or a PlayStation Mini, but it's the second generation PlayStation that they dropped, which was like the rounded one,
Let's rumble.
not like the big square one that they had originally. And you know,
250.
my brother and I were like, are they gonna throw that out? Like, we should just take it home. Like, if they're just gonna throw it away, well, let's take it home. So we did. We just took it home. And that was how I got my second Sony PlayStation. Yeah, I don't think it came with any games. I think it came with one controller. But again, they just threw it away. I don't know why. Pet the dragon, thank you. But that also allowed my brother, who is about 8 years older than I am, to ask his friend to mod one of our PlayStations, because somehow he knew how to install. Trust me, I don't know the specifics. Y'all can help me out with this, but he understood how to install not mod chips, but like language chips, I guess, or just de-regionalize, I guess. I don't know. But he made our original PlayStation, like our big square one. He made it able to play JP games rather than just NTSC games. Flashing the former, maybe, I don't know. Again, I was a kid. I have no idea if that's how you make old consoles play region locked games or just change regions. Yeah, sure. I don't know the specifics, so I don't know. But yeah, somebody knew how to do it. So we had our new PlayStation Mini, whatever you want to call it, as our NA console, and then we had a modded fat PlayStation to play JP. Which, you know what's funny about that? We had one singular non-NTSC game ever. If you want to know what game that was, it was the original version, JP, of Dragon Ball GT Final Bout. One of, if not the worst, Dragon Ball fighting game on the PlayStation. But we thought it was the fucking coolest because it was the only thing that had GT representation at the time. We also knew cheat codes, so we learned the cheat codes to unlock every character, as well as the super secret hidden Super Saiyan 4 Goku that was in there. Stand. And the reason I say super secret is if you've never seen gameplay of Dragon Ball GT Final Bout, or it might even just be called Dragon Ball Final Bout, either way. I just call it GT because it was literally like GT based, but it had like every character. It had characters from Z and GT. Like it had Vegito. I don't think it had Gogeta, but I think it had Z and GT characters. But like the coolest thing about it was so every character, right, fights like a normal fighting game character, right? Like they move pretty fast and stuff. Like they have different movement and attacks. Super Saiyan 4 Goku, for some reason, fucking like aura walked at you, like legitimately. Like he walked at probably a quarter the speed of the rest of the cast, and it was so fucking cool. Speaking of Dragon Ball Universe, I'm gonna play the shit out of the new Xenoverse. I'm gonna be honest, it's getting me a hankering to play Xenoverse 2. And if you want to know something about me with Xenoverse 2, I bought the game on release, never fucking touched it. I'd kill that guy before he got on the ramp. I'm sorry. Goodbye. But, you know, I'm gonna play the shit out of Xenoverse 3, even if I never really played Xenoverse 2. I kind of want to play Xenoverse 2 now, though. Shit. But I also understand that Xenoverse 2 is like 10 fucking years old, so it might not be a good play. But apparently it was a good game. I mean, it got DLC for like, what, 10 fucking years before it finally, they decided, hey, let's just make a new one. Fuck you. Right, because isn't there still one more DLC coming out for Xenoverse 2? Is Sparking Zero any good? I heard it is an okay arena fighter. It is not a traditional fighting game, so it is like Tekken in a sense, right? In the sense that it's technically a two-dimensional fighting game. I guess, yeah, like I guess three-dimensional. Two-dimensional would be up and down, which this one has side to side. It's a three-dimensional fighting game. So like, I heard it's pretty good, but apparently people got really bored of it really fast. I still wanted to play it because apparently they had like a what if story mode where like it was like what if what if Nappa went Super Saiyan instead of Vegeta or something? I think. Which I think was cool. I know one of the Budokais had that. Seen mods for the game I want to get eventually. Yeah, apparently it's pretty good, but it's also not like it never really caught on as like an actual fighting game. It kind of just had its like couple months in the spotlight and that's it. Shit.
150. 250. Let's rumble.
How am I in 7th place when all these 8th place when all these motherfuckers are dying?
250.
Ugh. But yeah, I've seen some pretty cool mods for the game as well. You know what's really bullshit? Speaking of not really cool mods, I saw somebody selling a mod, not even just releasing a mod, selling a mod for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero that was just them recreating animations from the mobile game Dragon Ball Legends, which is also a fighting game. And people called them out on it. Like, you're charging $22 for a mod for a video game that, you know, technically you shouldn't be charging for, right? Because nobody should really be charging for mods. Because at that point you're making money off a game that you don't own.
250.
And apparently the guy doubled down
500.
for some reason. Like, I don't know the story, but that's pretty much what I know about it. Is like he was selling like animations that looked pretty good for like a Gohan Black, which apparently exists in Sparking Zero. Like what if, you know, Goku, what if Zamasu, who stole Goku's body to become Goku Black, stole Gohan's body instead? Motherfucker. And apparently, which is funny, those animations were just from an Ultimate Gohan from Dragon Ball Legends, like shot for shot, just with, you know, Sparking Zero's extra like graphical capabilities put into it. Heads up. You can get a legal trophy for that, exactly, because you're making money off something that's not actually yours.
150.
Boy. Sorry, I'm having a lot of fun with this game. It's so silly. Like, I don't really have to pay much attention as much as like, oh, it's a racing game, I should try to get a high place. Fuck. But like, it's also just silly, just running and just elbowing people. The bike is still my favorite because you just fucking kick the shit out of them. But yeah, like from what I heard, like all of his mods were like in a mod pack. And it was like $130 for the fucking mod pack. And I'm like, what the fuck? You're selling a mod pack at twice the price of what the actual original game is worth, you know? It's fucking wild. Save it. Save everything. Right. I mean, is the race over yet? It's not over yet, Jesus. I think it is just when we do all 12 races. Lock in. It's fine. I don't think I'm gonna win this. I could. If it's score based, I might win it because I am getting pretty good scores. I'm just not getting first, second, or third. You do get score for placement, so like if I get first place, you'll see my score be like massively higher than others when I get like more tricks or more knockdowns. Those guys are idiots. They ran into a tree. Oh my god, that guy in the purple just murdered that guy. Oh, okay, so old ones you could do that because Bethesda like had a system for it. Yeah, that's fine in that case. You bitch. Like, I don't mind people selling assets, like modding tools for money, sure, right? Like at that point you're not selling, you're not making profit off of somebody else's work. You literally created a system to modify a game. Like that's a little different. But like if you're gonna sell just like the cosmetic mods first to somebody, like you could eat shit for that.
150.
I'm not gonna win this one. I'm in last fucking place. Shh, this guy punched me once and I died. I'm upset. Tiano, I like how you said lock in, and I'm doing the exact opposite of that. Like I'm getting like hard bullied right now. Fuck you. Don't lock in, thank you. Appreciate it. Fucker. These guys ran into the wall, haha. Oh, you bitch. Hey, it worked. I'm technically in first place now. Like telling me not to lock in worked. I think snowboarding has one of the fastest mega tricks. Nice jump. Bye bye. I think skateboarding might be the actual fastest super trick. I think then skateboard, I think it's skateboarding, then snowboarding, then inline skates, and the slowest by far is the bike.
150.
Motherfucker. How did he not? Ugh, I'm upset. Can't park there. I'm trying not to. I'm not trying to park my car in the yard, okay? Fuck you. Get out of here. Oh, he went through it. What an asshole. Oh, that guy in the black and yellow is trying to murder me. I think skateboarding is my character's weakest traits, so I'm actually doing pretty good for being in my weakest element. Bye-bye. If you want to play SSX, I never played it. I remember one of my friends in middle school had it, and I was invited to his birthday once where we were just hanging out and I played it for like 20 minutes. And then I'm not gonna lie, I had no idea how to turn off the PS2 at the time. I didn't know what button it was. So when I went to go turn it off, because I was the last one out, I pressed like a button and expecting it to turn off. It didn't. It opened up the disc tray. Because I didn't have a PS2 at the time, so I didn't know that there was the two buttons, right? The one that turns it on and the one that opens up the disc tray. You know what this makes me want to play? Every single old PlayStation game I ever played. Like, not like good ones, not like Final Fantasy 7, 8, or 9. Not like anything like that. I want to play like this. I want to play Twisted Metal 3, which I think it's the third one that I played as a kid. I want to play, I think it's NHL 2000, if I remember. Like, it makes you want to play those, like, not great, but still fun games that you had as a kid. Jesus, it's a fucking bloodbath. I died. $150. Get him. Die. $250. Next. These guys are very aggressive in this race. I don't know why. Oh my god. He fucking came at me like a wrecking ball, man. Jesus. God, man. I want to, you know what I want to do thinking about it now? Not just like thinking about this game, but just thinking about games in general. I want to do what I see. I've seen 2 streamers in particular do this. But I want to do it myself. I want to do a compilation stream where like I play through every single available game on a specific console. Because I think that'd be fun. Like, you know, you'll play the ones you know and love. But then you'll find games like this where it's like it's fun as hell, but you never knew it existed. And then you'll play infuriating games that makes you want to, you know, tear out your eyeballs.
150.
I was gonna hit that thing anyway, so we're good.
Get some air. 250.
250.
Let's rumble.
Go, 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 go. Am I near the end yet? Pretty close, I think. Oh, I'm in first place. I thought I wasn't. I fucking missed the see ya. I'm sorry, guys. Suck it.
Let's rumble.
Bye-bye. You bitch. Who's this guy in purple?
150.
No. God, this is so hard to control sometimes. 250.
500.
No, don't run into the biker. Don't run into the old man.
See ya. See ya.
Hey, fuck. I will be fourth. I will not let somebody take fourth from me. Thank you guys for dealing with ads. Blah. Yeah. What'd you guys eat for dinner, by the way? What's the dinner plans? Or what were the dinner plans? Mostly because I want to get ideas for tomorrow. Or if you're working, lunch plans. Pork and pasta. Ooh. What kind of pasta?
Set. Go.
Bye-bye. I can't hit him. Got him. Ah! White cheddar shells. Ooh. Those people are just fucking dead, by the way. They don't get up.
250.
I had 69 miles per hour at one point. But that was my penance for what I did. What I had today, I bummed some pizza off of my brother who bought some. But I think tomorrow I might be making some burgers for myself. Woof, says the dog. Ah! fucking hit a parking meter and I exploded. Burger. Ugh. I'll bounce on it for a burger.
250.
Sorry, I just remember that tweet that was fairly popular a while ago.
Let's rumble. 250. Heads up.
Heads up. More of those Santos and Virus. Ooh, fish sticks. So hilarious. That means yeah, you like fish sticks in your mouth. Sorry.
250.
That's a South Park joke. That's like the only South Park joke I actually know.
See ya. See ya.
See ya. I like how it echoes too. Ayo. Isn't that a South Park joke, right?
Get some air.
How the fuck did he do it? Never watched South Park. Neither have I. I was never really into it. Like, I think the only episodes I ever, or the only thing I ever really watched of South Park, I'm not even kidding you, was the World of Warcraft episode, because at the time I was into World of Warcraft, so like all of my friends that were playing the game were like, hey, did you see the new South Park episode? It was about World of Warcraft. And I'm like, it was? So then I watched it and I'm like, pretty cool. 6th place? Okay, we'll take it. And apparently, if you don't know anything about that specific World of Warcraft episode, the that which has no life character, the boss that they were fighting, the kids were, oh shit. What the fuck? New tricks? I've never actually seen this. That's cool. I'll try them out. That's cool. I will absolutely try them out. 4 button tricks too. I will do one more season to try these out. Anyway, what I was saying about the enemy they were fighting, the that which has no life. That was apparently modeled after Pirate Software's dad, who worked at Blizzard at the time. Can I not, like, do anything? The fuck? Okay, I have to go new season. Perfect. Let's change characters this time. I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever actually finished a season in this game. Instead of Bruno, let's go for... That's a snowboarding character. Go for Bones. Such a cool selection screen. Isn't it very 90s? Like extremely 90s. Like, it's really cool how they do this too. You just do this. It just rotates. It's so cool. Let's stick with veteran. I wasn't winning. Also, do you guys want to hear the audio settings? I love the sound test or the sound setting, because when you mess with it,
Dusty.
it's just one of the developers going testing. All right, now I'll put my initials down. PP. I'll be honest, I wanted to put Rin down, but I just saw the idea to put PP down, and I'm like, all right, I'm going for PP. Let's break some records.
Set, go!
Couldn't resist. I absolutely could not. I'm sorry. I'm not the kind of person that would go to the arcade and put ass as the winner screen, but it was pretty close. At least it's better than ah. That's usually what I would do, just because I wouldn't think of a name.
Get some air.
Did anybody remember what buttons the tricks were for snowboarding specifically? I think I remember, but I don't at the same time.
250.
I could probably look it up. It's just a very simple button combo, I bet, but I don't remember. But I'm in the last fucking place. Never played. No, there was a screen right now that was like, oh, congrats on beating the season. Here, try these new tricks.
150.
I just don't remember. I am in dead fucking last place, by the way. Jesus Christ. I need to stop being silly and just race. Also, I don't know if you guys can see it. Do you guys see the very clear... It's not even a green screen, it's technically an orange screen. That's like around the border of these characters. Bye-bye. Not that. Bye. Not that either. Bye-bye. I scared him. Kill him. Again, I'm guaranteed the tricks that they showed me were probably like in the game already, and they just tell you them, so you like, oh, you only know 1 or 2 tricks. Here's a new button combo you might not have tried. I guarantee you they weren't like actually unlocked or something. Bambi. Bye bye. Okay, we're okay. We're okay. Oh, we're alive.
See ya.
Ah, speed boost.
See ya.
How the fuck did I lose speed there? I must have like clipped or something. I think we'll do a couple more races and then move on to Tecmo Bowl. Just because if I want to finish out the season in there, I'm gonna need a couple hours, I think, because I think I had, what was it, 2 more weeks, I think, and then the playoffs, which I think are 4 games, I think. It's been a while. It's been like, what, 3 months probably since we played it, so I don't actually know 100%. No. Bucks. I hope they make a new Star Fox game because of him being in the Mario movie. Thank you. Did I break any records? I don't think I did. I did. Oh. PP is now the sole winner of Course 3. Maybe a new Fox game. Hopefully. I was stretching, but thank you. God, I keep looking at the fucking sub count, and being at 50 points is fucking crazy. It's gonna drop off a cliff in 30 days, but that's still a crazy number to hit. I feel like it's not the same people being aggressive in this particular season. That poor homeless person is fucking dead. You got to deserve a lot more. I don't think I deserve anything. Like, not in like a I don't deserve anything like negative way. I'm just here. Like, what am I doing that makes me deserve money? That was pretty sick. I earned no points for it, but that was pretty cool. Bye. Bye. He didn't hit me. Somebody else hit me. That fucking dog that was in front of me hit me. Poor homeless guy. He just fucking exploded. Listen, and I'm not gonna lie. If I could have, like... what's the number? I'd probably honestly need like 1,000 subs. I could do this full time. Now you might be wondering, 1,000's a lot, are you sure? Remember, I live in California, it's fucking expensive. If I had roommates, maybe not. But living on my own, I kinda do. Just to be safe. How the fuck did that kill me? Obviously, I don't expect that to ever happen. And by never, I just mean like within the reasonable foreseeable future. Like maybe streaming won't even be a thing by the time I am capable of getting those numbers.
Get some air.
You bitch. Oh my god, he just tapped me and he tapped my nuts and I died.
150.
I guess that's what happens to guys though. You just get a net tap and you're going down.
500.
Like he just gave me a nice little cup check and I failed. Another one. Does my character not have endurance or what's going on? Whee! Finish line. This is a short race. The fuck? Bye. Only one trick. Only one simple trick. 50 points. Bah. BRB, of course. PP is now the sole leader of course 2. Ugh. Let's do... What the fuck? We've only gone skateboarding and snowboarding. Let's do probably 2 more races and then we'll move over to Tecmo Bowl. Yeah.
Set, go.
Kill them all. This motherfucker didn't even touch me.
Get some air.
Also, the jump boost doesn't really help much. It's there to help you trick, but every time you jump, you lose speed. Jesus, fuck. I'm stuck. I am, that sucks. I'm actually just fucked. I also really like how there's different like clapping levels for different moves that you do to show you like, oh, this was a simple move, this was a hard move, this was a really cool move. Go, 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 go. I need to catch up. Bye-bye. You killed Bambi, what the fuck? Bye-bye. No. He's dead. Oh, I went through it, that's nice. Still, ugh, didn't go through that one.
Let's rumble.
Let's rumble.
250.
250. No. Bye-bye.
Let's rumble.
They got scared. They got aura intimidated. Bleh. That was karma, like actual karma, like hard right away.
Get some air.
How the hell did that move not go through? I just realized, isn't using the red cross against the Geneva Convention? I just realized this health pack power-up has the fucking red cross on it. I guess because it's not like a nurse thing, it's just like supposed to be like a health power-up. First place, baby! I just noticed something. I'm actually cutting off the tiniest bit of the top screen. I just realized I'm doing that without even thinking. Yeah. It doesn't matter. There's literally nothing at the top of the screen, but... And I noticed that actually. Shit. PP has the high score on course 2 now. Yeah, okay. Let me fix it. I can tell because there's a light up here you're not fully seeing actually. There we go. Trying to make it perfectly fit with my overlay. There we go. There we go. Oh, now you'll see the whole game and in all its glory, including the like 10 extra pixels you guys were missing. I like this. I think this is my favorite song of the game. At least this beginning, just the guitar going crazy. I want to kill. I want to kill.
Get some air. Get some air.
You motherfucker, I was just about to jump.
Let's rumble. 250. Let's rumble. Heads up.
Heads up. Die already. There we go. I pressed the wrong buttons, but it worked. Kill him. Bye-bye. I flipped him through the wall. Kickflip. We all just murdered each other. Mutually assured destruction right there.
Get some air. 150.
Holy moly. Just fucking kill this person. I'm in last place. I'm an actual dead to last place.
Let's rumble.
I'm ready to punch.
150.
Next person goes down.
Let's rumble.
I hit my head on the speed.
See ya. See ya.
Go.
500. 250.
Go, 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 go.
250.
No. Kill him. I missed. Kill him. I missed. The stack tap was just that. It was just a tap. I hit the street light. Or not the street light, the stop light.
150.
Doggy. Oh, Jesus.
250.
How the fuck? Go, go, go.
250. 150.
500. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Mr. Purple. I killed the purple guy.
250.
Yeah, his name William Afton. It better be. Meow. I just bounced off Goomba Stomps that guy's head. He's fucking dead. Just a skateboard to the top of your head. I think that businessman is just 100% dead.
250.
Bye bye.
150.
We're alive. We're alive. Heads up. Killed somebody. Killed myself. I'm in 8th place. Are you serious? This race has been terrible for me. Because I'm getting bullied, actually. That's actually what's happening. Fuck. Fuck. Look at that. 9th fucking place. Good lord. I got a lot of points from tricks and gates and knockdowns, though. Tricks, not so much. I did 1 kickflip and 2 grabs. Oh wait, the right side of it's cut off too. All of it's a little cut off. What the fuck? What the fuck? Let's try there. Is this game just in a really weird what's the word? Aspect ratio? Is that what's going on? This game might just be in a really weird aspect ratio. We'll do one last race and then we'll switch games for the night. The left side's cut off too, now that I look at it. Yeah, this game's just in a really awkward aspect ratio. Oh shit, that's kind of wild. Right there enough? That's too much. Yeah, this is a really weird aspect ratio, isn't it? This isn't like 16:9, this isn't 4:3, this is like a fucking, it's like 4.5:3 or something. I forget what the other ratio is that games used to use. Like 5:4 or something weird like that, I think. I'm not gonna lie, I think being born in the extreme sports era kind of shaped what my music interests were. Because like if you notice, a lot of this is very like not metal, but like very strong rock, like alt rock style. What people call it, like what do they call Sonic music? Butt rock, very butt rocky. I don't know why it's called butt rock, but people call it butt rock. And honestly, I love this style of music. I'm in dead last, I just noticed.
Get some air.
Jesus, oh my god. Damn, they're so aggressive. Heads up. Haha.
See ya.
No. Die.
250.
Fifth place now, because they're all just beating each other up. Oh god. Stop. Oh my god. My health is so low. You bitch. There's so many aggressive people that are just in 8th. Perpetual 8th place. It's like, brother, you're in 6th place. Why the fuck are you trying so hard to beat me up?
Get some air.
Like, you're just letting the person in 1st place go even further. There ain't no blue shell in this game. Fuck! He knocked me away. That poor... Again, these poor homeless people are just getting killed. Go, go, go. Fuck you. He was just in my way. He was a free kill. Oh god, I'm so sorry. I killed... It's just somebody crossing the street and a homeless person. I'm sorry. And I'm back to dead fucking last. Jesus Christ.
150.
Come on. Fuck you.
Let's rumble. Let's rumble. 250.
And you guys. I'm just knocking you guys all out because I have the punch power. Bye-bye. Just like that. 2nd place.
250.
But the guy in 1st is too far away and I never caught up. Damn. That's fine. Listen, from 10th to 2nd, that's not bad at all. Bye. Alright. Let's finish up there for this game for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. This game's silly. In like a really fun way. Now it be time for Tecmo Bowl. Let me make sure I can pop it up. Ads are done. Load recent file. Do this. Should load up pretty soon. Por favor. There we go. And another game. I've shown this off, but another game that people probably forgot existed, but I didn't. Same era, 1995. Oh yeah. Anyway, what does our characters look like? Superstar editor. I have some pretty good stats actually. Nobody has bonus points. I have 4 people. I thought I had more. Rage, how do you look? As a tight end, your stats are actually pretty nice. Like, they're not the worst. They're not bad. What about Lyra? She has a lot of speed. No receptions. I don't plan to use her as a receiver. I know running backs can do a little bit of both, but I don't plan to use her as one. That's why her receptions are so low. And my wide receiver, T-Bird. A little bit kind of the opposite. Cool. Anyway, if you guys want to be in here, I have to activate my channel point reward for that. Hang on. Where is it? Boom. Good old-fashioned 10K gets you in if you want. You could be any position besides quarterback because I do not want to be sharing time with another person. Alright, what's the season looking like? Only week to... Oh no, we are not close to the end. I thought we were closer than we were. Oh my god, we are never reaching the thing here. Ugh, excuse me. What week? Week 11? Did this just not save? Is that what happened? Because I feel like I remember us. We were like at week 16 or something, weren't we? The Giant. Ooh, the Giants won. Miami. Ooh, an overtime. Philly. Indianapolis. Oh, the Raiders. Poor guys. Oh my God, Buffalo got zeroed out. I mean, this is Buffalo after all. Seattle beat Jacksonville. The Rams. Wait, were the Rams just not in a city in this particular year? Because I remember they jumped between LA and St. Louis. Did the Rams just not have a city at the time? No, they're St. Louis. I guess it was just easier for them to type Rams than anything. I feel like we played this game already. Who's recovered? Mr. Woodall, I remember you. He was my go. Fumble injury, 5 minutes. We'll do that, that's fine. Starters. How do I look? Average condition, what about you? X, oh, I have to do that. Thunderbird, how you doing? You're bad, I gotta keep you away. Lyra, your average. We'll stick with this. Punt and return, we'll do Lyra. We'll stick with this. Who's winning? I will kick off. Sure. It's been a long time since I played this game. I hope I remember how to do it. How to whoop people's asses. Get him! Don't let. Oh my God. Are you serious? A kickoff return almost right away? Fumble. I'm scared. Oh, wait. Oh, God, it's the Cowboys. Don't they have Emmitt Smith? Oh, no. Oh, no, I'm very scared. Oh, my God. How's the audio, by the way? Let me know. Hopefully it's good. I think it should be okay. Got him! I'm assuming they're gonna pass. It's like 30 yards they have to go. Red 24! We figured it out. Get fucked, Aikman! I don't care if you're a Fox commentator no more. You die! He faked it! Get fucked! Alright, let's do a little bit of rushing to start. Let's see how Lyra does. Swear to God, if she gets injured first play, I'm gonna be really upset. Alright, 2 yards, not bad. Could be better, could be worse. Let's try a pass play. Go, 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 hut, hike. Go, Haley, go. Oh, sorry, that was Jerry Rice. Haley was on the other side. Jerry Rice, my goat. Go. Right down the middle, baby. Lyra, stay up. Oh, Lyra, my queen. Zigzagging fool. Oh, you serious? At the 1 fucking yard line? Aw, man. I'll do this one. Lyra, give me a yard. Oh my God, at the 0 fucking yard line. Fuck. All right. Shit. I'm gonna do it again. You guys don't believe it, but I'm doing it again. Good job, Lyra. Bleh. Kick the shit out of it. Oh, yes. Honestly, that was the Cowboys' fault for trying to go for it on 4th and 29 of all fucking things. Go, Conan. Conan O'Brien. Kill him. Break someone's clavicle. Wait, no, that's kicking and screaming. That's not. I'm back. We'll go back down now. We have swapped over to Tecmo Bowl. Kill Emmett. Wait, hang on. I forgot my blue light filter is going to turn on. It's going to turn everything red. That's why everything was a little off. We do this. Ooh, they called an audible. Oh, does that mean I call this play right? It means I still call this play right. Fuck you, Aikman. Good job, Mr. Williams. I remember always choosing the Cowboys because Emmitt Smith and Troy Aikman were just way too good of a fucking duo. No! I swear to God, if they go for it again, it's gonna be very silly of them. And Dad, you're not late at all. I mean, technically late. You missed out the first of the 2 games tonight. But you're still here. That's all I care about. Go Rage! No, they blocked you. Run, Lyra, run! Nah. You okay what I'm watching? You're watching football. Uh-oh. Oh, Cowboy, I don't care. Who's injured? Kevin Smith, haha. But yeah, you're watching football. If you don't know what's going on, don't worry. Just watch me pretend like I know what I'm doing and I just scream people's names. I am the white and beige ones. Go Rage! No! There's a character editor in this game from 1995 or whatever it was. So I added a couple people in here. Sorry you missed out on it, it's fine. Again, you didn't really miss out on much. If you could always go back and watch the VOD of the stream to see what game it was, but if you don't care about that, that's fine. Again, you're here. I still think they're gonna go with Emmitt Smith rushing. They went the wrong way. Fumble! Fumble! Run! Go, big man, go! Go, big man, go! Yes! Good job, Tim McDonald. But again, like 90% of the people in this game are real people that were playing on these teams in 1995. Might be 1994, depends on where they got their rosters. I did not want to do an onside kick, but let's try to get the ball now. We got it. I used to always do onside kicks as a kid because if you saw right there, they're like basically free to get the ball back. I just don't like doing it because it feels kind of cheap. Go Lyra, go Lyra, go! Another fumble! It's okay. It's okay. It's okay, Lyra. Things happen. Oh god, I hate going left. Called an audible. Does that mean I called your play? Get fucked. Get fucked, damn it. But how are you doing, Undead Light? How was your day? How was work? Kill him! This game also makes me want to play NFL Blitz 2000 by Midway. Shh. Oh my god, he caught it. Killed it. Oh my god, he's gonna go all the way. Unless they fumble it. Fuck you, Emmett. He's too cool. Kill him! 1789 points. Ooh. We might reach 50% by the end of the stream. Sorry that you guys don't have a lot of channel points. I wish I could give you guys more for free. Oh shit, I wasn't ready. Nice slide tackle. Hold the line. Perfect. Hold the line. Are they gonna go for the field goal? No, they're not. Go, Lyra. Our space bunny queen. Go, Lyra. Oh, she got taken down.
Round 52. Round 52.
Mr. Niners caught it. Also, by the way, I'm pretty sure in most of these games, most teams have a like fake player that's just named the team. Ooh, nice job, Jerry. And it's just a way for everybody to kind of have like a good player playing a game. Ooh, what game are you playing? Is it a porn game? Is that why you're not saying what game you're playing? I'm just teasing, by the way. Go, Jerry! That was a really bad pass by me, honestly. Go, Lyra! Get us 8 yards! Good job!
First down. Blue 48. Blue 48.
Oh. I lost the yard because I didn't realize that's who I was gonna throw it to. Oh no, ooh, that's a complicated play. I want to use it. Rage, come on, you can catch that. Shit, I need some yards. Lyra, I need yards. Go.
Blue 48. Blue 48.
Just okay. I was gonna say, just give me the fucking touchdown at that point. Oh, that's a really bad. Oh, thank God it was out of play. Whew. Yeah, rage. Sorry, my shoulder's really tight today for some reason, so it's just I have a very small amount of neck pain going on today. I missed. Blue 42. break someone's clavicle. I love how I figured out the play, and Emmitt Smith is still so fast that he could just outrun all my players.
Blue 48. Blue 48. Put.
Nice. I like how they're using all of their timeouts, expecting to be able to hopefully score. Nope. They will not be able to. Not with me. Emmitt, no. Fuck, they got a first down. I think barely enough too. If you guys don't know, the Cowboys had some of the best players, honestly, probably in history around this time. The 49ers probably had the other. There's probably other players I'm not thinking of, but I'm pretty sure like the majority of like all of like the great players around this particular era of football were in on the Cowboys or the 49ers, which is who we're both playing right now.
Ready, set,
Kill him! All right, 10 seconds.
set, ready.
Stop him.
Blue.
All right, halftime. How much yards we got? -9 rushing. Suck it, Emmitt. 1 fumble each. We have 2 sacks. Nice. So we're winning in stats, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're gonna win. My turn. Nice. Hang on, I want to see something. Where's my Hail Mary play? The reason why that's funny, just if you ever just do the Hail Mary, it's just a really funny. Hi, Breasty. Hi, Fudge. Hi. Go, Lyra. Oh, Lyra's a... Oh my god, I didn't realize Lyra was a receiver on this play. Guys, I thought of a new catchphrase. Or at least a sign-off. Oh my god, I fucking got demolished. You guys want to hear it? Oh, whoa. It's not oh, whoa. It's not going to be oh, whoa with these. Notices your bulge. Oh, whoa. Shit. Nice catch, Rage. In the middle of fucking traffic. It's either a sign-off or just a really funny line that I thought of. Where, I could use it as a sign-off. It'd be funny. But I was thinking... If I was ever a Jesus Christ, like a superhero or something, and I was gonna like beat a supervillain or knock him out or something, my catchphrase would be "Rest in peace." Good job, Jerry. I don't know. I thought that was a funny line. Go! Nice job. Anyway, Fudge, how's your day going? Damn it, you beat me to it. How am I? I'm doing pretty good. I'm having a tiny bit of neck pain, but I'm doing okay otherwise. Oh my god. Is that Michael Irving? That's not Michael Irving, right? Was he around at this time? He was on the Cowboys, right? Shit. No, he's on the Giants? No, kill him. But anyway, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm doing pretty good though. Today's a pretty okay day. You're at work? I'm sorry. I always hate that when you guys are at work, especially late at night. Oh no, that's a touchdown. I'm not catching up to him. Fuck. Yeah, no, I am terrified of Emmitt Smith in this game. He's probably one of the best running backs ever, realistically. Better have rested up LA. I did pretty okay, yeah. Better than usual, honestly. I just need to sleep more. Like, I actually just need to sleep more. Just in general. I don't know what it is. Like, I can't fall asleep like I used to the last like couple of weeks. Like, that's just how it is. I don't know. I don't know why. That's my fault. I'm sorry. That was actually my fault. That was not on him. That was a bad throw on my part. Alright, now we need to get a fumble. He's all alone. Fumble! See what I said? We have to get a fumble. Okay, I got so scared that it just went out of bounds and fucking just fucked me over. You see? I just have to call it. I just need a fumble, and there's a fumble. Throw the ball. Good job, Jerry. Probably one of the best wide receivers in existence. And I don't care what people say about modern days. I just realized I'm not even in the game yet. I'll play it out with just Steve Young. No wonder we're doing so good. If this was me playing, I don't think it would be as close. Rich receiver Jerry Rice. Legendary San Francisco wide receiver. Randy Moss is pretty good. Okay, yeah, I'm sure there's others. But remember, I am a California native, so I will stick to people that I know. Nah, I think it's hard to say in any like team game like this who like actual #1 player ever was, you know? Because like it's a team game. Good job, Jerry. You want to talk about the offensive line? Exactly. Like, nobody talks about like, oh, this is a really good offensive lineman. Besides like analysts, right? Because obviously analysts know that you can't really have like a good quarterback or a good running back if you don't have a good offensive line to keep them safe while they're trying to do their job. Which, again, this is just me talking sports because I do somewhat follow it. If you know anything about the Raiders lately, the Oakland/Las Vegas Raiders, they suck ass because they have no offensive line. So like they might have like a pretty good quarterback, or they'll draft somebody good, which is what's actually happening today is the NFL draft, and they're expected to pick up a quarterback. Like, it don't matter how good of a quarterback they pick up if they had a jack shit O-line to actually, you know, keep them safe. But nobody ever talks about an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman as being like the best player.
Round 52.
No, please kill Emmett, thank you.
Round 52.
Oh my god. Oh, he went for the first down and he didn't get it. That's why bad teams usually stay bad. Yeah, it's never a matter of like a lot of people that are, you know, fair weather fans of sports, right? They'll say like, ah, damn it, I didn't take down Smith, that's a touchdown. Maybe not. They'll say like, oh, this quarterback sucks, right? Or like, oh, this quarterback didn't amount to anything because they got drafted by, you know, what is essentially the worst team in the league, because that's how the NFL draft works. Is if you're the worst team in the league, you get the pick of the litter. He just fucking ran through when we knew the play, if you noticed. Like, we swarmed him and he was able to outrun us. Oh my god. But what people don't realize, going back to what I was saying, what people don't realize is what ends up happening is entirely because they don't have an offensive line protecting them. Like, they could be good or bad, whatever it is, and if they don't have their protection, they're not gonna be at their full potential. Sam Darnold sucked on the Jets, Mr. Rulisi. Oh, see, exactly. See, things like that. That's literally the prime example, right? Like, a player could suck on one team but be good on another, and it's just the systems in place, or the players in place, whatever you want to call it. Nice catch, Rage. You're not very fast, but you're strong. But the speed is my fault, because I didn't give you enough speed. I gave you more, like, ball control than anything. Which is why you're good at catching. Fuck. Sucks to be high draft pick and send away to waste on a bad team. Yeah, exactly. And most of the time, a bad team is not one single player away from being a competitive team. They are 2 or 3 at least away from being a good team. I just need to punt it. I can't risk it. If a team is somehow one singular player away from being a competitive team, they quite literally just tank the season to try to get that first pick. But if a team is genuinely just bad, one singular player is not going to do anything for them.
Round 52. Round 52.
Oh my god, they're fucking online. They're just killing me right now. This is really fucking bad. Jesus Christ. I don't think they'll win, but this is fucking terrifying. If I was not 35 points up, I would be scared. Well, at this point, I'm 21 points up, but you know what I mean. Or 22. Okay. Okay, can we stop him here? answer is of course no, because Emmitt Smith. Oh my god, he's literally, him and Troy Aikman are doing everything right now. Oh god, what are the that was another team I was playing where just one player just fucking ruined me. Was it the Lions? It might have been the Lions. Kill. Oh my god. Okay, thank god. Bye.
Blue 43, blue 43.
Oh my god, they didn't get it. Oh, thank fuck. They're going for it though, I know that.
Round 52, round
Go, 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 go. Oh no. Oh no. Oh my. Oh. I thought we had it. It was gonna be a first down regardless, so I think I was fucked. Fuck. They're coming back. I'm so scared. You know what? I'm trying one Hail Mary. I like using the Hail Mary play because it's funny. The AI doesn't really know what they're doing here. Go, Jerry! Anyway, I just want to do it once. I'm not actually going to keep doing that play. It's really funny because you could run literally to the end zone and then throw it, and it'll somehow still make it to the end zone on the other side. Good job, Lyra! She wasted all their time. And got the 100 rushing yards. Still love this fucking song. God, they got so. Oh my god, they got so many yards in the second half. That was crazy. Oh my god. All right, now we skip forward another week. Where's our bye week? Did we already have it? We did. Week 12, baby. Oh, overtime. Oh my god, poor Pittsburgh. Jesus, Lord have mercy. Tampa Bay got 2 points. They got a safety and couldn't score. That's crazy. Cincinnati got 3. The Rams ended up winning against ATL. Arizona, oof. Good job, Philly. Chicago came back. Poor Cleveland. I feel bad for the Cleveland Browns. Like they've always been kind of like the laughing stock of football. Like there's a lot of teams that have been bad, like really bad, but like every team has kind of had their moment in a sense. Not all of them have won, but a lot of them have had their moments. But like Cleveland hasn't really had anything, and I feel bad for them. We're against the Miami Dolphins. Wait, is this in the Dan Marino era? Because I'm fucking scared if it's the Dan Marino era. This is before, this is after Dan Marino, right? We'll find out once the Dolphins get the ball.
Round 52, round 52.
Fuck! Oh my god, they figured out my play right away. Oh, of course. The Dolphins have a fucking defensive end as their free OP player.
Red 42.
Go, Jerry. Oh my god. Oh my god. Holy fuck. What's going on? I just can't play the game right now.
Blue 43. Blue 43.
Go, Jerry. Not enough. I'm gonna go for it though. Why? Because I feel like I can do it.
Red 42.
You know what I'm doing? I'm rushing and I fucked up. They figured out my play, by the way. That's why I fucked up. They knew what I was doing. Oh, fuck, is this Dan Marino?
Blue 48.
It's Dan Marino. I am scared.
Hut.
Oh no. Dan Marino is in this game. Oh god. You know what's funny? The only reason I know it's Dan Marino is Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Ready. Hut. Touchdown.
He fucking caught that. I'm already on the back foot. That's not good. And I received the ball, so I'm actually really in the back foot. Oh, fuck. I gambled. It didn't work. I have to actually, I have to do something big. Stop the ball! Damn it. Oh, fuck. Okay. How do I do this then? Okay, starting at the 40, better than the 20.
Ready. Set.
Jesus, that was that was me, that was bad.
Round 52. Round 52.
Run, Lyra! No fucking way, bro. I think the football gods are against me today.
Blue 43. Blue 43. Hut. First down.
I think genuinely the football gods are against me right now. Okay, I have to actually put the stop on them in order to have a chance. And I think they just got another fucking touchdown. Jesus.
Touchdown.
Ah. Okay. It's time to lock in. Hmm. 14-0 in the first quarter. Oh, baby, this is fun. Help me. All right, how do I do this now? How do I actually get some offense? That's not it, apparently.
Ready. Set.
Swear to God, if she fumbles it again.
Round 52. Round 52. Pass incomplete. Blue 48. Hut.
My God.
Round 52. Round 52. Pass incomplete.
Oh, fuck, man. Do I go for it? It's early enough that I kind of have to. It's not a death sentence if I fail here. Especially if they leave Jerry relatively uncovered. Yeah, just like that. Kept things alive.
First down.
28% completion. Don't give me that number. That's not fun. That's not fair.
Blue 48.
Touchdown. Okay, we're good. All right, we're alive. Signs of life, baby. Should I go for an onside kick right away? Maybe I should. Nah. I gotta learn how to beat them defensively. I can't just prey on the onside kick. Fuck you, McDuffie. Kill him.
Red 24.
He caught that? Jesus Christ.
Blue 48.
How the fuck? Brother, that art in heaven. How?
Red 42.
No! First down's okay. We can survive that. Fucker. Okay. Okay. Only down 7. It's going down the middle, which is fine. Please kill him. Make it fumble, maybe. Maybe.
Blue 43. Blue 43.
Ah, no, they went the other way.
Red 24.
All right, let's do this. I picked the right side, but I was blocked. Oh, thank God, they're punting it. Please give me a good position. They went for it. Oh, thank fuck. All right, it's time to start our run play. Lyra, get in here.
Red 24.
They figured it out. 2 yards, that's fine.
Round 52.
Good job, Floyd. Who's injured? Please do not be any of the players that are based after our people. Oh, he took 1 tackle and his ankle shattered. Come on, man. Bones of glass, motherfucker. Come on in, Adam Walker. Sorry, I shouldn't say that to a player that got injured, but it's like, come on now. You took 1 tackle. Run!
Red 24.
They figured out my play. Okay, there we go to spectacle line of scrimmage. That's important.
Round 52. Round 52.
Okay. Go, Miss Kumori. Nice job. Holy shit, Lyra catching in the middle of 4.
First down. Blue 48.
1 yard. God. I was gonna be so scared if somebody else got injured. Okay, it's like that's a dolphin. We're okay. Gene Atkins, get fucked, Gene. Fuck you.
Blue 48.
Go! Oh, that's so close. One more yard, Lyra. Just one more yard. Alright, that works. God, you know what's funny? When I was a kid, I would never play with injuries because I did not want to have like my players be injured. But injuries are it's like a really interesting, scary mechanic that's in this game.
Round 52. Round 52.
I figured out my play, but it works still. Nope, only 1 yard. 1 yard to go. And then comes the 2-minute warning. Bye-bye, touchdown. Good job, Lyra.
Touchdown.
I think Lyra's our only touchdowns, right? Yeah, she's our 2 touchdowns, which is great. Okay, we have stabilized. Sorry, I was stretching my back right now. Kill him.
Round 52. Round 52.
Okay. Good God, good job.
Quarterback sack.
Good job, Bryant Young. Good job killing Dan Marino. Just like, what's her name? Finkel Einhorn. Not Ray Finkel. What's her name? Lois Einhorn. Just how Lois Einhorn wanted to do to Dan Marino and Ace Ventura. He's still, oh my God, not only did he still get it off, he got 40 yards out of it.
First down. Set. Ready.
Okay. Go, big man, go. Go, big man, go. No. Are we gonna give Lyra a 3rd touchdown, by the way? Let's give Lyra a 3rd touchdown. Let's do it. Lyra's earning her paycheck, alright. Hell yeah. Get fucked, Dolphins. Ow. Bye. Oh, my neck is really bothering me. I might have to stop pretty soon. Like, it's not like painful, it's just like that really annoying like tightness that comes from probably from just like not sleeping in the proper position, you know? Fuck. Okay, we're good.
Blue 43.
Kill him. This is the second quarter, yeah. So they're not gonna get it in time. I swear to God, if they score a touchdown on this single last play. Okay, we're good. By the way, they're still getting the ball back, so don't think this is over. Because it isn't. Exactly what I'm saying. Call an audible because I called your play, bitch. I still caught you. Get fucked. One more time. Nope, not this time. Fuck. Kill him. God damn it, Dan Marino. Lace is out. Oh, okay, we're good. I was so scared because he was all alone. That was like a 30-yard play if he caught it. Like that. Oh no. Fuck. Okay. Kill Dan Marino. Yes. I actually got him in time. Good job, Gary Plummer. One more time. Fuck. OJ. Oh no, not OJ. Okay, this is gonna be a close game. Yes! I blocked it. Okay. Okay. That's actually the perfect scenario. Go! Big man, run! Also, if you're wondering why I'm zigzagging, it stops their slide tackles. Good job, Derek Moore. Hell yeah. Okay. Now we're 8 points ahead, which means even if they score a touchdown, they do not get to tie the game. Easily, that is. No! OJ! Uh-oh. He's going down the middle. What did they say about OJ? The juice is loose. The juice is loose, baby. Got him! No! This is bad. This is very bad. Oh my god. Oh, Ad Cummingson, get ready. No way, he still got it. Oh my god, he still got it off. Fuck. Hydrate, sure. Thank you. Ad break. Fuck, man. I had them on the ropes. Yes, we blocked it again. They're probably doing an onside kick here. Oh, it's only the third quarter. Yeah, so not yet. Not yet. They were ready for me. Go, Lyra! Straight down the middle. That's bad. They figured out the play, but... And I still left 3 yards. Fuck. Yeah. Fuck. I thought it was a catch. This is really bad. And it's a touchdown. Now they're in the lead. I noticed something too. I think I'm in bad condition because I was not running very fast before I threw the ball. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. It's only 5 points, so it's beatable. One more, please? No, not this time. Shit. Welcome back from the ads. You guys just missed an interception into a fucking touchdown by the Dolphins. Alright, gotta check something. Oh, average. We're fine. Alright, we'll stick with this. Oh god, even Lyra's in bad condition. All of my players are bad right now. That's not good. Okay. They left Jerry alone. God, I barely passed 100 yards passing. That's not good. Not good at all. Y'all left Jerry alone again. All just don't do that.
Touchdown.
Hell yeah. Now we're up by only 2 points, which is fucking scary. Alright. I'm still not going for the onside kick. I don't want to cheese this. I want to win. Blue 42. Blue 42. They went down the middle and whooped my baloo. I don't know. I tried to rhyme, it didn't work. That's the first time that guy's actually ran any yards, by the way.
Round 52. Round 52.
Nice job. Somebody just left them alone. job, Bryant Young.
Blue 43.
Blue 42. Blue 42. Please kill him. God, man, he's a running back, isn't he? He's doing both fucking things. Down the middle again, and I kind of had the right play, just the wrong player. Okay, I guess because we're only within 2, they don't want to risk it. Risk it for the biscuit. Did that block? Nope. Go, Lyra! Damn it. Okay. I just need one more touchdown to be safe. Please catch this, Rage. It's a high fly ball. Nice job, oh baby. All right, I was gonna say, just don't fumble it. Just don't fumble it. That's your first reception. Thank you. It's a big one.
Set. Ready.
She's still up. Yeah. I love when they do that. You never know when it's like actually close enough that they fake measure it.
Round 52.
Oh shit.
Set. Ready. Put.
You left the door wide open. Blue 42. They figured it out again. Up my butt. That's okay. We just go for a field goal. Shit, that only makes it 5 points up, just like we were on them. Oh, down the middle. Hell yeah. Okay, we have to get a stop because if they get a touchdown, we lose. Because I will not have enough time to get my own unless they score like right now. Who got it? When the world needed them most, the fumble happened.
Blue 48. Blue 48.
Oh, the slide attack, the slide touchdown. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Oh. All right, I think we pretty much win this, barring some absolute choking of a generation of like 3 generations at this point. This is a 30-year-old game. Okay. Almost a 7-stream streak. Nice. Welcome in, Leona. You're watching me play some football. You quit your job? I'm not gonna say congrats because, you know, unless you have something lined up that's a little scary, but congrats if you stood up for yourself. Fumble! Dan Marino, you are not stopping this. Enjoy the alert though. Wait. Did it not say recovery 49ers? Why did they get the ball back? That's a little upsetting. I could have gotten another touchdown. Whatever. It's not bad. We did okay. We're already division champs, baby! Because we're like, what, 12-0? Oh, I think we're gonna do one more game and then I'm gonna stop because I'm starting to get tired. And I'm not meaning like I'm bored of this game. I'm just starting to get tired. Like physically tired. We're seeing the scores, which I don't really care about because whoever I play, I'm gonna win. Poor Jets. Okay. I pressed the wrong button. Is he back? My boy is back. Who the fuck is Murrin Hanks? Who? I'm in bad condition, or I'm in average condition. Lyra's in bad condition, but I'm sticking with her. Who the fuck is Hanks? Oh, down there. A defensive back, okay. Oh, I'll keep it at 5, that's fine. Oh, against the Rams. Oh, baby. Skip. Let's go! Nice job. 45. 44. 44. Right. Why am I growling? I don't know. I just feel like it. Good job, Rage. Who's next? Rin Komori, number 69. Prepares, fires at Jerry Rice. Nice catch, Jerry. Jerry. Oh, we're at home. Oh, shit. Yeah. Like the scary dragon? Nuh-uh. I am like the least scary thing in the universe. I'm as scary as a fucking puppy. I don't know. I missed. I don't know anything about what the Rams game plan is in 95.
Ready, set,
Got him. I'm gonna assume they are more scary cute. Shut up. They're more quarterback than run, but I don't know. I was wrong. Kill him. Damn. Kill him. They got a first down. Stop him. Bah.
blue, 43.
Hike. I was stopped. That's another first down. Yep. I figured it was. Oh, audible? Does that mean I called your play right? Sure fucking did.
Red 24.
Red 52. Red 52. Kill. I didn't know that he had the ball. I just took a guess.
Blue 43. Blue 43.
Down the middle. Kill him. Oh my god, that guy's sliding like hell. Hi. Lyra, it's your turn. Shit.
Ready. Set.
3. Hut. 6, 7. 6, 7. Imagine if someone time traveled and started saying the word 6, 7 before it became a thing.
First down.
It's a ram. I don't care. Roman Pfeiffer. That's a cool name.
Set.
You know what I forgot to check? People's stats. Does anybody have any skill points to use? Get it. Yes. Good job, Lyra. Fucking run. Damn it.
First down. Blue 48. Blue 48.
Ah.
Touchdown.
Kill them. I think I'm definitely going to be finishing up after this game. We're barely at the first quarter. Oh my god. I am unfortunately playing too well and the clock is not running.
Ready.
Got him.
Round 52. Round 52. Hut.
Blue 52. Kill.
Quarterback sack.
Gary Plummer is actually my GOAT on this team. And it's not just because he happens to be in the perfect position for me to take control of him and, you know,
Round 52.
do something cool with it. Uh-oh. Bumble! Do I actually have the ball? Okay, I actually have the ball this time.
Blue 43.
Oh shit. They realized I was trying to run it down the middle.
Blue 48.
What will they wonder if I run down the middle twice in a row? Cause I will, baby.
Touchdown.
Remember guys, always run it down mid. Oh, that's a little too strong. That might end up being a touchback. do this.
Ready, set, hut.
I was wrong. They were going down the middle, not the bottom. I mean, they're listening to me. They're going down mid, so.
Set, ready, hut.
Okay, we're figuring it out.
Set, ready, hut.
That was out of bounds, baby. That's not gonna block, but it's close. Lyra, time to go. Damn. They had 3 people, whereas I only had 2 defenders, so basically impossible for me to get more than like 10 yards there.
Red 24.
Jerry. A little too easy there. Touchdown 49ers. Look how fucking jacked I am. Alrighty, we are up a lot of points, so I'm not terribly scared right now. Go Gary! Get him!
Quarterback sack.
That's number 3 for Gary Pluma. Bye.
Red 42. Hut.
Kill him! Good job. These poor guys, I'm actually kind of understanding their playbook already.
Blue 23. Hut.
Again.
Quarterback sack.
Good job, Antonio. Don't know who the hell you are, but good job. Does that one block? That was pretty close. It does. What's funny, even if they pick up a blocked punt, it's still our ball.
48. Blue 48.
Bye.
Blue 48.
Go Rage! That's a little bit of a high ball, but it's caught. We're good.
Touchdown.
This is unfortunately a stomp. I feel really bad for the Rams. Y'all should not have left LA at this time. And kick. Also, if you guys notice, there's dirt in this arena. Which, if you're wondering, why is there dirt in the center of this arena? A couple of football stadiums back in the past, most notably Oakland for the longest time, was actually shared with the baseball team. I don't know if this is the same arena that the Oakland A's had. That's bad. But yeah, the Oakland Raiders shared arenas with the Oakland A's. So they were one of the only teams for the longest time that had a like a dirt center, because they didn't get rid of the dirt from the baseball diamond. A little bit of a fun fact about Oakland, now Vegas, but yeah.
First down. 52. Round 52. What?
That's a touchdown. Oh my god, he just missed. Nice.
Pass incomplete.
I don't know if this is... I don't think this is the same arena. I don't remember where the 49ers played back then because I was not technically cognizant of football.
Quarterback sack.
I was 2 years old. Maybe not even 2, depending on when this game came out.
Round 52. Round 52. What?
Stop him! Fuck!
Touchdown.
Two points. Oh my god.
Red 42. Red 42. What?
Got him. Nice failure, buddy.
No good.
You know what I'm curious about these days? How many how many how many athletes, not just football players, how many athletes are actually into like anime these days?
Red 42. Red 42.
Because I feel like it's absolutely hit the mainstream media to where there's probably a lot of athletes that are like actual like weebs like the rest of us, and not just like, yeah, I've watched Naruto, I've watched Dragon Ball, I've watched like this very common anime, I've watched Jujutsu Kaisen or something, Demon Slayer, whatever, you know. I'm actually curious how many there is like that. Nice job, Jerry.
Round 52. Round 52.
Right down the middle. No. Lyra, you need 1 yard. Please give me 1 yard. You have given me 1 yard. I wish I knew how to mod like sprites, because I would 100% mod this game just to have like, oh, it's Lyra, it's gonna have pink hair somehow. Oh, it's my character, it's gonna have long purple hair somehow. I don't know, it'd be cool. But I think the problem with that, I think it's just every character has literally the exact same model. So like they don't have like, oh, this is the quarterback model, this is the wide receiver model, this is, or sprite. But every player literally has the same look. So you wouldn't be able to just be like, oh, replace just this one sprite.
Blue 43. Blue 43. What?
Oh, 1 second left, baby.
Blue 43. What?
Kill him. Oh my god, he broke free. He's just getting 3 yards for no fucking reason because the half's over. 21 twice. 5 sacks, 1 fumble. They have, wow, more possession than I do. Why? How? How the hell is that possible? Perfect kick. Oh my god, my back is starting to actually give me a lot of really bad exhaustion. Please don't let him. Please don't tell me it's gonna be like the game with the Cowboys where they're a second half team.
First down. Round 52. What?
Okay. We gotta kill him. We have to snap his ankle. Ooh, ad break. Break someone's clavicle. That is from the movie Kicking and Screaming. It's pretty funny if you want to ever watch it. It has the real Mike Ditka in it, which is a legendary football quarterback. Not quarterback, coach. Maybe he's a player? I actually don't remember. There's a lot of coaches that were not players. Similarly, there's a lot of coaches that were. Nice job. That's our second block. Oh, yeah.
Blue 48, blue 48.
Nice job, Jerry, getting back so you're all alone. And touchdown. Do I have 300 yards yet as a quarterback? I don't think so. 49 points. 49 points. 49. Got him. Football. Hi, T-Bird. Sorry, I named you by your name in the game. You are still in my team. How's it going? Hi. Welcome in. How's your Thursday night going? Kill. Nice block. Kill.
Blue 43.
That's our 5th sack by Gary Plumed. Also, guys, for those of you that are here, I don't know what game I'm gonna play for next Thursday. Would you guys want like an arcade game, like an arcade style game, not like an actual arcade game? Like when I mean arcade, I mean like there's levels, there's lives and things. Or would you guys want like a rhythm game? You want I Love Peggle? Hi Peggle, welcome in. Do you want me to play Peggle, or do you just say the word Peggle as the first message in every stream you ever join? Give me some context. As I somehow get a touchdown scored on me.
First down.
Shit, you got 100 rushing yards? Fuck. I've actually never played Peggle. I don't even think I've played it when I was at like school's computer lab growing up. I don't think I've ever played it. 100% should play Peggle. I've seen it, I just never have played it. One of my friends played it, and I understand everything about it. I just... Please take him down. Thank God. Please don't be a first down. Okay, we're good. Alright, time to get that goal line defense going, baby. Also, if you want me to play Peggle, you should probably follow. Like, if you want, at least there's a chance that I play your game, at least be following. Come on now. It's just common courtesy at that point. Everything else, look, I have played every single one to my knowledge. He was all alone. But anyway, to list the games of Metal Slug that I have played, just in case there's some that I haven't played. I have played Metal Slug 1, Metal Slug 2, Metal Slug X, Metal Slug 3. Is it Metal Slug 3 Double X, I think? Metal Slug 4, Metal Slug 5, and Metal Slug 6. And I've also played Metal Slug Tactics, even on stream. Which, if you're wondering what Metal Slug Tactics is, it is probably the most recent entry into the Metal Slug franchise, and it's Metal Slug as Final Fantasy Tactics. Like, that is the best way I can explain it. But if there's more Metal Slugs besides those, I have not played them. But yes, I played a lot of Metal Slug growing up. And I kind of want to play them again. Because it has been since the Wii era that I've played Metal Slug. Is Metal Slug on Steam at all? Like, is the anthology on Steam at all? But oh, right at the 1 yard line, perfection. Third quarter's over. Bleh. Is it actually? Ooh. You know why that's curious to me? I get paid. I get paid tomorrow. Oh, I get paid tomorrow. Don't tell me this. Don't tell me this. Oh. Oh.
Round 52. Round 52. What?
I will have to look this up directly after I finish streaming.
Blue 48. What?
I know this play by heart already.
Set. Ready. What?
Same play, yeah. Just by it's a throw instead. Please kill him. Don't let him get a touchdown or a first down after I actually murdered his ass. Metal Slug could be a thing.
48. Blue 48.
Nice. Turnover! Good job, Norton. Mr. Antivirus himself.
Set. Ready.
But anyway, Mr. I'm suggesting Peggle because I love pegging. I don't see you following, so who says I'm gonna play your game?
Blue 43. Blue 43.
Shit. I think they're gone. I think I scared them away by offering a perfectly logical situation.
Pass incomplete.
Just the first 3 index. That's fine. I like the first 3 index. Oh yeah. I wonder why not 4, 5, and 6. That's weird. Is there a 7 yet, or not yet? Oh, he's all alone. He's all alone. Or is it just 6? Like 6 numbered ones. I know there's like X and in like double X, I think it might be called.
Round 52.
Oh shit. Just 11 was on the DS. Okay. Yeah, because I know the anthology was was just the 1 through 6 with I think X being a part of it. But I think that probably also came out, I'm assuming, before 7.
Red 42.
Otherwise, my assumption is they would have had 7 in there, even if it was a DS title. Or is 7 one of those games that like really uses the touchscreen, so you can't really port that really well? Ow.
Set. Ready.
No! Kill him! Don't. Oh, he's got a touchdown. But the shutout is over. Oh wait, it was already not a shutdown. I forgot they had 12 points. Or 13 points because I blocked their field goal. No, I did block their field goal. No, I stopped their 2-point.
Round 52.
No way. I figured out the play. He got the pass off and the guy caught it. That's fucking crazy. Fuck.
Blue 48. Blue 48.
Down mid, bitch. Go Lyra, go Lyra, go Lyra. Also, did you guys know there's a song by Limp Bizkit called Turn It Up, Bitch? It's a pretty funny song. What am I at? I need 10 pass yards. I want to get my 300.
Set. Ready.
Please catch this, Jerry. Thank you.
Touchdown.
But yeah, I had a lot of fun with Metal Slug Tactics. That game is fucking hard. Use the bouncy from Matthew Katav and see where they can port it. Okay, so they probably could port it. I'm assuming it probably came out either after the compilation for the Wii released or during development. $66 points. 3 more and we get the funny number. I pressed the wrong button. It's okay, they got the ball.
Round 52. Round 52.
I missed. Don't you dare. Oh. Let's see if we can stop them from getting that first down. But yeah, Metal Slug might be a thing.
Blue 48.
But I'm actually planning on something else, so I ask again, would you guys like an arcade game
Round 52.
or a rhythm game? I was in front of him and I didn't even realize it, by the way.
First down.
Okay. Rhythm game? Maybe. Maybe we'll do that then. The only thing I'll say, if I do choose the rhythm game, there's a very good chance that stream VOD just gets nuked. So if I play that game, make sure you're here live. I'll honestly probably locally record that one because, yeah, I'm serious. That game is very likely not gonna survive the Twitch censorship.
Ready. No good.
Because not only is it a rhythm game, it is a rhythm game with not original titles. It is 100% copyrighted music 100% of the way. All I wanted was Lure to give me 10 yards, but if she gives me a touchdown, that's also good. How many touchdowns did she give me? Like 5, I think. Hell yeah. This was a shellacking from start to finish. That's crazy. They have 4 more first downs than I do, and I have, what's the name, 46? 46 more points than they do. They have twice the amount of possession I do, and I have 46 more points than they do. That's kind of nuts. Like how efficient I am, essentially. Like compared to like how the computer operates, like the menus and stuff. All right. For now, let's check stats. Who has stats? Of course, Lyra does. Oh, that's a lot of stats. Let's give you running speed and max speed. Give you some rushing power as well. Who else has some? Rage. You got some points. 1 singular point. I will give you receptions, because you're for the most part a receiver. Cool. We are all done for now. Let's go back over here. Oh, my back hurts. My back is actually killing me. Good lord. I have to just like go lay down for a second after stream ends. Alrighty. That was 2Xtreme, by the way. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. It's very silly, very funny. I love the game. And even 20 years later, I still love the game. 20 years, technically 30, but you know. Maybe I'll play it again when I don't have any idea of what to do. Oh, my back. Alright. So yeah, next week for Thursday, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might do a rhythm game. If you're wondering what kind of rhythm game, it is something that is called Amplitude. It is a game I have talked about. It is, I believe, one of Harmonix's first projects, which if you know anything about Harmonix, they're the ones that made, I believe, Rock Band, if not also Guitar Hero. So, yeah. And there's actually 2 versions of that game. There's like a modern re-release in like 2018 or something. I'm not gonna be doing that one. I'm gonna be doing the OG. But yeah, so that'll probably be what happens next Thursday. But for tomorrow, I will be playing more Super Mario Galaxy. It looks like we might be the finale of the main story, but probably not the finale of like getting all 120 stars. I'm assuming that there are. So yeah, tomorrow will be more I Am Mr. Gay, or sorry, You Are Mr. Gay. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. Oh, Mr. Cool Friend, thanks for the follow. Sorry you had to join right at the very end, but if you'd like, feel free to join my Discord. Anybody who's here, feel free to join my Discord if you're not already in it. There we go. Feel free to join. Make sure you click on the reaction commands to get actual roles that you need to watch the whole, look at the whole Discord. But otherwise, I will catch you guys here tomorrow, same time at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for Super Mario Galaxy, okay? You guys have a good night. Sleep well. Kisses for you guys. Thank you guys for an amazing week so far. And bye. Good night. Sleep well. Love ya.